Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. Well, welcome to December 2019, the very last month of this year, Monday, December 2nd, but we do have to go over what happened last Friday on Fox with SmackDown with the Blue brand. And the fact of the matter is, Roman Reigns came out and pretty much stated the fact that, NXT kicked their butt, but they kicked Raw's butt apparently, and SmackDown won what could have been the most important three-brand interpromotional war, with the 5-on-5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series tag team elimination match. Reigns came out, and he pretty much called out the one dummy that almost put the entire thing on the line, that almost cost him the entire match, that dummy being King Corbin, which of course brought King Corbin out, and being that he is the heel and he apparently has subjects, which again, you know how I feel about Rude and Ziggler following Corbin around, don't agree with that, but Corbin came out and pretty much announced that, it wasn't going to be Reigns versus Corbin on Friday night, no, it was going to be Reigns versus Rude. And Reigns, the big dog, took care of Rude, he took care of Ziggler, and now he seems poised to be facing off against Baron Corbin in about two weeks and a half at TLC. I call this, it's the writing was on the wall. It was going to be Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns no matter what happened. No matter what happened at Survivor Series, no matter what happened previous or after the fact. That is just how WWE functions at this point. Moving on, we've got quite a few segments from the Firefly Funhouse. We got quite a few interactions between Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. The first of which is Bray Wyatt wants to play with Daniel Bryan once more. He wants to fight him once again, and it seems like Daniel Bryan accepted that challenge in that ring by going back to his iconic yes movement, after which he was attacked by the Fiend, who came from under the ring and pretty much drove him to the depths of hell, apparently. Like, that's never happened in WWE. And from what I can understand, he took quite a bit of a locks of hair from Daniel Bryan. So here my real question is to WWE, to WWE Creative, to Daniel Bryan, and to the Fiend himself. Next week on SmackDown, will Daniel Bryan be bald? Will he have shorter hair? Is that what that interaction meant? Or was it just another regular run-of-the-mill heel attacks babyface segment? Because after all, that could be it. It just would be kind of a way to make the Fiend more creepy. But again, I called it. Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt, round 2 at TLC. That's set to happen no matter what. One last thing with the Fiend, he introduced a redesign of the Universal Championship, although it didn't seem like he got rid of the original blue Universal Championship. It just seems like whenever the Fiend comes out, whenever he defends his championship, it's going to be the Fiend title on the line. It's going to be that creepy face on that championship belt being held up by the referee. It seems so. And honestly, it does fit the Fiend character more than a big strap with a WWE logo on it. And that redesign tells me one thing. It just tells me that Bray Wyatt might be champion for a long time. He might be a champion long-term heading into WrestleMania, as I've predicted quite a few times, and that's the road that they should take. Again, they've got to protect the mystique of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. They've got to protect that. They almost screwed that up at Hell in a Cell with that terrible finish against Seth Rollins. They've really got to be more careful with the Fiend, and this might be a sign of things to come with Bray Wyatt. And just one note, it is being reported on wrestling news websites that Bray Wyatt, with his entire new Fiend persona, is now the #1 merchandise seller for WWE. So overtaking Roman Reigns in that area is quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to Bray Wyatt, to the Fiend, and whoever came up with this new, complete character, multifaceted character. Again, all the credit in the world to that. And there are also reports that the Fiend's new title, the new design, is going up to, or is being sold for up to $6,500 online, which is crazy. I wouldn't pay $6,500 for a title, no matter how it looked. All right, but not only that, we've also got Bayley came out. She did practically what Seth Rollins did on Monday. She came out. She blamed the SmackDown Women's Division for not carrying the blue brand on their back as they should, and that's probably why they lost at Survivor Series. She named Nikki Cross and Carmella and Dana Brooke as the weak link. She then got on to Lacey Evans as being the weak link, which brought out the sassy Southern Belle to the ring. And after a few, sassy interactions between Lacey Evans and Sasha Banks, Lacey delivered the woman's right to the boss, and it seems like Lacey Evans and Bayley are set to go 1-on-1 at TLC for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So, if you've been watching the show for quite a few weeks, you know how adamant I am about mentioning other things that I'm correct about predicting, like I have done on this very show. But for right now, on Friday's show, when I previewed SmackDown, I thought, where else can they go with Bayley? Who's going to challenge Bayley? It's certainly not going to be this or that or Lacey Evans, because Lacey Evans is a heel. It's not going to be Lacey Evans, and they proved me wrong. Lacey Evans will be challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship at TLC. It's not made official. That just seems to be the route that WWE is going towards. And finally, we got the returns of Alexa Bliss and Elias. Bliss returning to help Nikki Cross fend off Fire and Desire, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Got quite a big pop from Alexa Bliss, for Alexa Bliss. And it's just, it's just so wrestling. It's just that my mind is so jaded at this point, and it's hard to pinpoint the fact that, Alexa Bliss will be turning on Nikki Cross in the future. At least that seems to be the obvious choice. When that might happen, I don't know. And Elias came back in a backstage segment. We got to walk with Elias once more, and so did Dana Brooke, who, I'm guessing Batista might not be happy with that segment, being how Dana Brooke swooned over Elias. But hey, he's back. He's certainly charismatic. Certainly fans love his in-ring segments, walk with Elias speech. So it's going to add quite a bit more entertainment to SmackDown. And I wanted to move on to our second segment, and the fact is that we've got 5 years of the New Day. This past Friday, it marked the 5-year anniversary of the New Day, of the New Day's formation in WWE. Unfortunately, Xavier Woods is injured, so he wasn't able to be a part of SmackDown this Friday. And really, what I wanted to point out right here is the legacy and the memorable moments that the New Day has left with us over the past 5 years, and it seems like they're just gonna keep going for years and years to come. Number one, you had the New Day come out, Kofi Kingston and Big E come out on SmackDown. They were about to put their SmackDown tag team titles on the line, and before they could even ask their traditional, their renowned, their who question, the fans got one step ahead of them, and Big E and Kofi Kingston just let them have it. Let them have this moment. They accepted the fact that they're to the point that fans know them so damn well and expect them so that much that they just let it happen. And that's just what a memorable gimmick does. And I've been one of those guys, one of those pundits, one of those analysts that's pretty much said, the New Day should probably break up soon. Kofi Kingston, Big E, Xavier Woods, they got so much potential as singles competitors that being stuck together as the New Day just isn't right. It's just holding them back at this point. And time again, every single time anyone has brought that up, the New Day has shut them up and proved them wrong. Earlier this year, it was with Kofi Kingston becoming WWE Champion at WrestleMania. We got Kofi Mania. And now we've got the fact that Big E is so damn entertaining, he's so damn funny, he's so damn charismatic. He is, like he pointed out in his post-SmackDown celebration, he is the second ever NXT champion. He did defeat Seth Rollins for the title in the early days of NXT. So Big E, he's got some singles pedigree behind him. He's also a former Intercontinental Champion. And if you go back on this very YouTube channel, you can find a video that I made where I pretty much stated who I thought would become world champion first out of this entire faction. I won't spoil the results, but I got pretty much egg on my face for that. But happy nonetheless. And Big E should be very much having a singles run very, very soon. Okay, and hopefully they don't botch it the way they did with Kofi Kingston. I've talked about this in the past. Kofi Kingston going from WWE Champion, going from the top of the SmackDown food chain to being squashed by Brock Lesnar in 11 seconds and then returning to SmackDown and not laying claim to a rematch or trying to go back after the world title. I think that hurt his character so bad. So very bad. And hopefully Xavier Woods returns after WrestleMania next year. We get the New Day back to where it should be. And they could just keep being entertaining. On paper, the New Day still as a tag team, still as a group, still going after the tag team titles. It seems stale. It seems predictable. It seems repetitive. On TV, when these guys are on screen, on the mic, in that ring, it is entertaining as hell. You gotta give the New Day that. So, anything you want to say to the New Day after these past 5 years, you can go ahead and leave it on the comment section below. Moving on to our third segment, Jordynne Grace tweeted last night on social media about something that honestly shouldn't be a problem anymore in today's society. It shouldn't be a problem in the wrestling industry or in the sports industry as a whole. Jordynne Grace tweeted this, and I quote, "Hey, remember that time the Sandman came up to 4 women about the main event to tell us that women main eventing is wrong and any male wrestler with any sort of experience would agree? Was this 1998? No, it was tonight, December 2019. Excuse me. Gotta work that throat. This after the fact that Jordynne Grace was set to main event the WrestleCade Super Show against Taya Valkyrie, Rosemary, and Sue Young. Apparently the Sandman, being the old school guy that he is, wasn't pretty much in agreement with women main eventing a wrestling show. Before 2004, that had never happened, I believe. That before the 2004 Raw main event of Trish Stratus and Lita, that never happened. Then we had pay-per-views being main evented for the first time in WWE with, I believe, Evolution, first ever women's pay-per-view, all women's pay-per-view. Then we had WrestleMania being main evented by the women superstars. So a lot of change. But again, I've got to state this. It shouldn't be a problem. It should not be an issue to anyone, to any wrestler, to any fan anymore. And again, some fans reacted in a very poor manner towards Jordynne Grace's tweet, one of which called her out on the fact that, hey, you don't ruin my childhood. I love the Sandman. Don't ruin my childhood. That's basically what a fan had to say to Jordynne Grace, to which Jordynne Grace responded, and I quote, How do you think I feel? Don't meet your heroes. Period. So again, in this world, nobody agrees on everything, 100% on everything. So there's going to be people that agree with the Sandman. There's going to be people that agree with Jordynne Grace. There's going to be people who have a separate opinion entirely. But if you ask me, it shouldn't be a problem, especially when women main eventing the show is earned either by their actions and their ability in that ring, or by the story itself, by the characters, by the fans' reactions, just like it happened at WrestleMania. There was no bigger story heading into WrestleMania than Becky Lynch, the man, going after the women's championships and trying to fend off and trying to defeat two of the biggest stars in wrestling at that moment. The unstoppable Charlotte and the immovable Ronda Rousey. That was the big story heading into WrestleMania, and everyone, even though pretty much everyone knew that Becky Lynch was going to win and was going to end the show as women's champion, people still wanted to see it. People still doubted the fact that Vince McMahon would pull Becky Lynch over Ronda Rousey and Charlotte, his favorites. But that happened, and fans loved it, and it was the right call. Main events should go to either the most important world title or the most important match with the best characters and the best story involved. In this case, Jordynne Grace, Taya Valkyrie, Su Yung, and Rosemary at a WrestleCade event. No story at all, but they are pretty damn good wrestlers. If a promoter wants to put them in the main event of the show, so be it. It's 2019. We're heading into 2020. It's a month away. 2020 is a month away. Deal with it. Times are changing. And many wrestlers agree with Jordynne Grace. Amongst them, AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, who tweeted, "I don't agree." Madison Rayne, who responded, "Gross. I hope he stuck around and see the match and eat his words." Will Ospreay commented, "Really? Most of the women wrestlers are pulling off more innovating and exciting stuff than ever before. Can't tell you the amount of times I go watch a starting match and want to retire because their matches are insane. Let's not interfere with progress. Everyone keep killing it." So a bunch of fellow wrestlers for Jordynne Grace and fellow current performers agree with Jordynne Grace, agree with many of the fans out there. Women should be main eventing pay-per-views if they've earned it, if it's warranted, if it's the most important feud, rivalry, and best match possible for the main event. That should be the case. Unfortunately, like many others in the past, the Sandman seems to be stuck in the past and stuck being too old school. And if being human is any kind of journey, you know for a fact that other people are kind of stuck in their way. You can't make them change their mind as easily as anyone else. This might just be me, but again, my opinion. But again, women in the main event, not so taboo anymore and should be normalized at this point. Going into our fourth segment, AEW is reportedly being investigated by the Maryland State Athletic Commission. This after at the Full Gear pay-per-view this past November in Baltimore, Maryland, we had the lights out unsanctioned match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, where Kenny Omega, was bladed, apparently. I believe he was bladed, and there was quite a bit of blood during that match, to which Cruz, this reporter, former WCW announcer Chris Cruz, recently contacted the commission about Omega blading himself, which is apparently prohibited by the Athletic State Commission of Maryland. So, yeah. Chris Cruz is apparently contacting the State Commission of Maryland about Moxley blading himself, which is against the rules and wasn't enforced by the Maryland State Athletic Commission at Full Gear. So this could lead to quite a bit of drama for All Elite Wrestling, which they of course do not want. It might lead to a big fine, which I assume they can handle. If not, you could ask Tony Khan. But again, I really don't see much going into this other than the fact that if it wasn't enforced by the commission, what fault does AEW have? I mean, I get AEW has to follow every single commission's rules and wherever states that they perform in, but if it wasn't enforced, if AEW looked the other way, this might end up going to court. This might end up being a whole war that AEW and everyone else might not want to get into. I'm guessing at this point it's going to be AEW and Tony Khan's money against the Maryland Athletic State Commission's money. And it's just a wrestling show, wrestling entertainment. I didn't agree with what happened in that match. I don't like too violent matches for any performers. But again, if it's the law, what are you gonna do? Again, we'll just have to wait and see what goes down with AEW and this entire situation, what happens. But if you ask me, I don't think it's much of a big deal. It's entertainment. The state commission didn't enforce it, and we'd have to ask AEW if they knew about that. I don't know if they can get away with the fact that it was unsanctioned. Who knows? I'll keep you in the loop. I'll try to look more into this. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just, the news story here is the state commission is going to investigate AEW for what happened at Full Gear. End of story. Nothing's happened yet. So, and finally, being that it is Monday night, we have the Raw preview where Seth Rollins is set to issue an apology to the entire Raw roster. Wonder how that's gonna go, because if it might be the exact same segment that we got past Monday night, where he just grilled the entire roster for losing at Survivor Series, assigned blame, and now he wants to apologize. This just seems like more and more of his slow and steady heel moves that he's trying to be implemented into his character. And maybe, from what happened at last week's show with the Authors of Pain attacking Kevin Owens and not attacking Seth Rollins, who knows? We might be getting the Architects of Pain in the future. Maybe the Architect Maybe the authors of pain finally found the architect, possibly. Let's wait and see what happens tonight on Raw in Nashville, Tennessee. We've also got Charlotte versus the Kabuki Warriors in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Again, WWE being completely clueless over the fact that isn't Charlotte Flair supposed to be a heel? They're pairing her up against a heel tag team, the Kabuki Warriors, in a 2-on-1 handicap match, which is normally a babyface setting. Is this supposed to lead to the women's champion Becky Lynch coming out and pretty much challenging Asuka to a match at TLC for the Raw Women's title? Possibly. Again, being that it is a Raw preview, we have to wait and see what happens on tonight's show. And finally, it is being reported that WWE Champion and Raw Champion Brock Lesnar is not set to appear on a WWE event, on a WWE televised event, until January of next year. Pisses me off having a part-time champion. Pisses me off that we could have such a wonderful, entertaining, and compelling rivalry between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins in the main event of Raw, and one thing is missing, and that is the World Championship. And it's just fitting, it's just poetic. We end the decade of part-timers with a part-timer as a champion and a part-timer going into 2020 as the world champion. It's just poetic. WWE, congratulations. You did it. 2010 to 2019, decade of the part-timers. Congratulations. What more is there to say? So with that said, thank you for joining me on this December 2nd, 2019 Monday edition of Wrestling Talk. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. That's it for me. Till next time.